Just about everyone who watches this show today has been begging, pleading, and screaming for a change at the top of the coaching tree of the New Orleans Saints. On Monday, you got it. With it, we ask, now what? When can we realistically expect things to actually change for the football team? Is it this week against the hated Dirty Birds of Atlanta? Is it after the bye week, just before the end of the month? Is it immediately after the season is over? Maybe it's draft time. When? What's realistic? And what are the realistic goals for the near future? We'll discuss it with you today, and it's Thursday. So you know that means we have the bet crew with us here today as we give you our top plays for Week 10. That could be good. That could be bad. Who the hell knows? Well, shut up, Derry, and get to it. Your wish is my command. The Dattitude podcast is most certainly up next.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where are you at, New Orleans? And hello to my friends elsewhere, everywhere, out there, who have had 3 mornings in a row where they wake up and sing with the birds now that Dennis Allen's gone. Y'all do realize it's the same players in the field, right? I wouldn't be getting too fired up just yet. Unless you're fired up about Dattitude, episode number 306, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Thursday, November the 7th, 2024. You know who I am. I'm your host, Jim Derry, 34 years in the sports media business, 11 years as a broadcaster, and I thank you if you are here right now, whether you're here later, whether you check in tomorrow, whatever it is. I thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. Miss me? I know I actually had, it's kind of a cool thing, I guess. I mean, some people that didn't hear me say Monday that there would be no show on Wednesday. I got some people asking, where's Dattitude? What happened? I'm still here. It's all good. I went off with my daughter yesterday. It was school field trip. Promised that I would be there. It was exciting stuff, let me tell you. Doesn't get more exciting than hanging out with a bunch of 8-year-olds on a picnic. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, there'll be a day, I'm sure, at some point in my life, probably in the near future, where I'll man, I miss those 8-year-old picnics. I wish the 8-year-old was back here with me. So I'll miss that, I'm sure. But anyway, we're back here, back to our regular schedule. We'll have a regular schedule next week for sure. And then the bye week, we'll figure out what we're going to do bye week. That's I can't think about that. I could barely think about tomorrow. So what is on the show today? Well, you can kind of see what's going on today here. If you're watching the show live, we're going to talk about Darren Rizzi a little bit, some changes. Darren Rizzi's making some changes, boys and girls. I mean, look, I guess if I were Darren Rizzi, I would make changes too. But I mean, I think let's slow our roll. Some things I'm reading, he's a little gung-ho. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't change things, because obviously you're 2-7, you suck, whatever. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Gabe's coming on with his best bets. I think he gives us his best bet of the week, and I think he's 5 out of his last 7. I'm correct. 5 out of his last 7. He did miss last week, so his little mini run come to an end. We're not going to spend hardly any time. I put the score in there just in case you didn't see it last night. The Pelicans are awful right now. They're injured, banged up. Don't blame it on Willie Green. There's a lot of things that go into it. And, as we start getting off of our football high, we're going to have plenty to talk about in January and February and March. Because, look, I want to spend some time in the offseason talking about this training staff. Because if you don't know, and I know most of you do, we're going to get to the comments in just a minute. I know you got a lot of comments in the queue, but I will say this. I mean, we're going to spend some time. And I don't know if we got to dig or do whatever we got to do. But there's just The injuries on both teams, both the Saints and the Pelicans, it's not coincidence. It happens all the time. It's not a coincidence. It's getting frustrating. It really is. We'll talk about Chris Olave, his fourth concussion. I mean, how do you blame that on a medical training staff? I guess you don't. But all these injuries that keep happening to both of these teams, they can't be coincidence. They just can't be. Okay? You don't see all these same injuries, this many, for lots of other teams. Just saying. So anyway, we're not gonna spend really any time in the Pels. Again, I just put the score so you could see it. They did have a good fourth quarter. They made a rally, but they couldn't hold on to it. They got close. I did not see the game. I was working last night. But I was kind of following the scores. I was working. Just not good. And I know it's not good for their ratings. So anyway, best bets again, as we talked about. Uncle Big Nick's already in the green room. Gabe will be coming on in just a minute. That is coming up the last half of the show. Okay, that'll be the last half of the show. First half of the show is going to be all Saints here this morning. You can be a part of the show by typing in your comment on YouTube or Facebook, as I say many of you have done already, and I'll get to you in just a minute. We ask if you haven't already done so, politely, we ask, as politely as I can do anything. If you're watching on Facebook, please subscribe to our YouTube page. Be an official member of the Dattitude family. You'll always know when we go on the air live, which is most of the time, almost all the time, weekdays from Monday through Friday, except for Tuesday, live at 11 a.m. And I need to find out how to put a message on the YouTube page that if we're not going to have a show on a regular day, to let people know when, like, what's going on. I think there's a way you can do that. I'm going to figure that out. You can also get in touch with me on X if you're watching after the fact, at Jim Derry Jr. via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go through some of these this morning. Brian Pearson was first. Good morning. What do I think this new coach brings to the Saints? In my honest opinion, I have no idea. He brings change. I mean, honestly, that's what he brings. Change. Good morning, Kyle. I mean, if you're trying to figure out if he's going to bring anything that we haven't already had here, the answer is probably not. I mean, he's an interim coach, and I think the chances of him getting the job on a long-term basis are not very good. Calvin, this week, the players will have more effort, may not win, but you'll see more in them. Are we sure about that? Sean, let's get Rizzi with it. Y'all are fired up. I understand why, I guess. By the way, Charles, hello. Kyle Sherman, good draft haul. Yeah, for Marshawn Lattimore. Bye-bye. I told you already. They would have got a 7th-round pick and a bag of chips. I'd have been cool with it. Avide, good morning. Who dat? Welcome to the show. Mike Meir, let the season end, then make changes. Well, I mean, you got to make change. You're talking about Rizzi. Yeah, he's getting a little bit overboard. We're going to get into that later. S. Callie, who dat? Welcome. I've been part of the Dattitude family for a little while. Ray Ibarra has been a member of the Dattitude family. I like how Rizzi shook up the staff. He didn't change that much. And ended that isolation crap. You'll see a more motivated team, and he would go for it on 4th and 1. You mean you think he's going to be an analytics dude? Oh, God, I hope not. Sometimes there's times to go for it on 4th and 1. There aren't. Just saying. Randall, good morning. Welcome, as always. Charles Schulman, think Rizzi can be the guys if they go on a streak of what? I'm going to tell you that to temper your enthusiasm, okay, if you look in history, not just with the Saints, if you go in history, things usually work out okay for a interim coach in the short term, maybe not so much in the long term of a season, okay? I'm going to say that. I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. I think one of us on today's show, at least one, is going to probably pick up on I'm going to go with the NFL history of a new coach comes in and things change right away. Maybe. Courtney Fisher, good morning. What did Black Preacher Man say? I'm sorry, I didn't say it. Talk to him. Change greater than no hope whatsoever. Calvin, I agree with you. Salute, Jim. Well, thank you, Preacher Man. Checking in. I'm glad you're here. Thank you again for being a part of the Dattitude family. Dylan Smith, good morning. All the Hoodats he wishes good morning to as well. Thank you for all of you for being here this morning. There's lots going on. Trade deadline over. Chase Young stays. Probably couldn't get anything for him. You got to realize you probably had to trade part of his salary too. William, it doesn't matter how good the draft haul was for Lattimore, because as long as Mickey is GM, he will just trade them away. No, come on. Don't hate just to hate. Okay, it's one thing if someone deserves it, and like they hardly ever deserve the hate that you're going to come. And I'm not just talking about you, William. I'm talking about in general. Chill. Charles, some pro football apps said the Saints pick third and pick Sanders from Colorado. Let's not do that in November. I don't think the Saints are going to pick third, first of all. And second of all, I've seen some people get so hyped up on draft predictions. Dude, I don't just mean you. I mean everybody. We have so much time to talk about a draft. It's more than a half a year away. Chill on the draft. We got to get a coach and possibly a GM first. Big Easy Mafia, let's keep the faith in our Saints and be patient. More changes will be coming in the offseason. Who dat? Probably right. Kyle Sherman, who dat equals everybody. Okay, hold off on the comments real quick, Gabe. We're going to come back. We got plenty to talk about with Saints this morning. We got Gabe, we got Uncle Big Nick, we got again plenty more Saints. We're going to talk a little bit about Alabama and LSU. Big game. The line has crept up to -3. It was been -2.5. Bama now -3. Before we get to all that, let me continue the story about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Lots of changes going on with the Saints. Lots of changes coming up in the country. Maybe you've been thinking about whether it's time to sell your family-run or privately held business, and you think there's no better time than the present. Well, first, you should check in with Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt at Evangeline. They first will maximize the value for your business by scheduling a complimentary valuation. By determining your company's worth, then you can have a more informed opinion on whether it's time to proceed. And you'll have the expertise of Nick and Ron to guide you along the way. What then? Well, more on this later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. And I will use this moment to tell you and to thank, and I don't do it enough, to thank my friends at Evangeline Securities. They became the title sponsor of this show, I think in April, either April or May. I think it was in April, right before the draft, I believe. They have been a godsend, and Nick Braden has become a friend, and I can't tell them enough how much I appreciate Evangeline Securities for being a sponsor of the Dattitude podcast. And not only just the Dattitude podcast, but everything we do involved with Dattitude, including the shorts and everything else. You can also be a sponsor of the show. If you would like to sponsor a segment of the show, get in touch with me. jderry@theadvocate.com. Telling you, you won't be sorry. This show, and again, I'm not just saying this. This show is growing every week. It's become bigger and bigger. And sometimes I have a hard time believing with my loud mouth, West Bank, yatty self that people want to listen to me, but they do. And I appreciate you every day. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the show as well and be a bigger part of the show and sponsor a segment, get in touch with me. We'll figure out how to make it work. Players are wearing Merry Christmas shirts. That's what they were wearing at practice. Merry Christmas. Oh, boy. I hope the rolling of the eyes comes across in the audio-only version of the podcast. Okay. Well, whatever it takes to fire you up. Go ahead. You can go back with the comments, Gabe. I know we got plenty in the queue. Loyal audience. Good return for an advertiser. Yep. I'm telling you. You should give me a call. Ray says, beat Atlanta and the Yucks, and I'm good. What if Rizzi wins 6 out of 8 games and the players play hard? Do you keep him and let him rebuild through the draft? Well, first of all, if the Saints won 6 games down the stretch, they'd still be 8-9. And I'm going to say this as nicely as I possibly can. The chances of them winning 6 out of 8 down the stretch are about, I'm not going to say 0.0, but I am going to say somewhere in the vicinity of 0.0. Just north of 0.0. Not good. Again, in just a minute, I'm going to give you some numbers on what has happened in the past when Saints coaches quit or are fired in the midseason. I was surprised to see that this is only the 6th time that it's happened in Saints history, that there's been a coaching change in the middle of a season. I really am. I got to say, I thought it was going to be way more than that. I thought it was going to be more like 8 or 9. Calvin, players play hard for a coach they believe in. Just saying, don't expect them to win 8 straight. I think players will play better in the short term? Yes. In history, you see, not everywhere. I mean, we saw the Raiders played hard last year at the end of the season. And I think you see it in some places, but I think in general, in history, and look, that's all we have to go by, right? I mean, we could say, oh, this team is different. This guy is different. Dennis Allen was hated this much, blah, 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 blah. It is what it is. All you can do is do research and go and use historical, what's happened in history to find out if it's going to happen here. Ovide says, got Carr for another year. Let's give him an O-line and a block. Look, whatever changes this team makes, and I've been having this conversation with multiple people, you can hate Derek Carr all you want, but what is the most important thing that needs to be changed in this team? Not quarterback. It's not quarterback. You're not going to win. You're not going to be a serious contender for multiple years. There's too many changes that need to be made. You're stuck with Derek Carr anyway, whether you like him or not. I'm not defending Derek Carr right now. I'm telling you what is reality. What do you need to change most? And it's what, was it Calvin or Ray that just said that? Whoever just said that, 100%, it was Ovide, sorry. You have got to change your personnel in the trenches first and foremost. If you're going to make this team better, they should have done it the last 3-4 years, and they haven't. They've been ignoring it. The offensive line has been steadily getting worse and worse and worse. The defensive line has been getting older and older and older. Courtney Fisher, I don't know why the Saints have been afraid to become a young team. I don't either. Well, I can answer that. The reason why is because they thought, and were wrong, and we've been talking about it, they thought that they still had 1 year left. They always think, we got 1 year left with this team, right? We got 1 year left before these guys get old. Well, guess what? Your 1 year left ended like 2 years ago. You ain't got 1 year left. And now they finally realize, and it's usually like everything else in life, I'm not just talking about football, but way too often you realize too late that we didn't have 1 year left or 1 month left or whatever it is. This team has no time left. They got to just redraw it from the studs up. Williams says it's not about hating Mickey. You build through the draft, and I don't disagree with that. You draft, and Loomis does not value draft picks. You're putting way too much on Loomis, by the way. He has traded up just about every draft. You're putting way too much on Mickey Loomis. Who you think wanted to trade up? It wasn't Mickey. It was the former head coach who's not here anymore. That's the guy who wanted to trade up. That guy's gone. You're putting way too much. Now, look, I will say this. I think that, we could keep blaming Mickey for a lot of things, but I think that and this could be bad or good. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I don't think a lot of the decisions y'all thought Mickey's been making all this time, maybe it hasn't been Mickey making all them decisions. Kyle says they messed up their picks on the line badly. Do we need to change GM and Jeff Ireland? I mean, Jeff Ireland is, I think, great at what he does. So no, I don't think Jeff Ireland needs to go anywhere. I don't blame Jeff Ireland. I'm going to go back and say what I said the other day. I think just in general, I'm not blaming Mickey. I'm not blaming other people. I don't know who to blame, honestly, because I don't even know. I think there could be decisions being made behind the scenes that we don't even know about. Just going to leave it at that. I think this team needs a complete overhaul. Good morning, Jerry. Welcome. I think it needs a complete overhaul. Ray Barra said he trade back unless he's a stud O lineman. Let's wait and see. You can't say it's like having playing cards and you got, whatever your hand is, you got king, queen suited. And you're like, you're making up your mind what to do before the other 6 people do their thing. You got to wait. You don't know what you're going to do. Fuaga looks like a solid tackle, good building block. I think Fuaga's fine. Jerry says, good morning, Who Dat Nation. Let's don't get overboard. Ray says Davenport and Turner on Allen could have had Lamar Jackson. I don't even know how to comment on that. Disagree, Loomis is the ultimate decision maker on talent. You can disagree if you want. You want to bet? I guarantee you Loomis was not the final decision maker when Sean Payton was here. You can say whatever you want and think whatever you want. He was not the final. If Sean Payton said, I want to do this, it was done. Period. Amen. Now, he may have kind of taken over that role in the last 3 years. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I'm just saying there's a lot more going on. And I'm sure my friend Jeff Duncan would disagree with me. I'm just telling you what I see. I'm not often wrong about reading into things. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just telling you the way that it is. KD Brown, they traded up damn near every year since Peyton left. What? They trade up for Fuaga? No. I guarantee you they traded up way more percentage-wise when Sean Payton was here than when Sean Payton wasn't here. I mean, if you want, I'll go do research and I'll get back to you tomorrow and give you the exact number. But I'm 100% certain that they traded up more when Sean Payton was here than when Sean Payton wasn't here under Mickey Loomis, which goes back before Sean Payton, by the way. Calvin, funny how Penning looks better without Tug Murrow. I don't know how much he looks better. All right, hold off on you didn't say first round. Okay, well, I'll do that too. But hold off in the comments because there's something I do want to get to. I told you I was going to talk about this. There's an interesting note about what the Saints have done in their past when a coach is either fired or quits on his own in the middle of the season. Again, I was surprised to find out it was only 5 times. So I did some research on this yesterday. Okay. And I probably should wait until one of us, again, one of the three of us, at least one of the three of us, has a pick on this game. So we're going to talk more about this, and I'm obviously going to talk more about it with Larry Holder tomorrow. But I was interested in finding out how you always hear about when you get a new coach, it immediately fires up a team, and everything's different. Well, is it or isn't it not? Okay, so let's go back in time and look and see. It was, you may not realize it's the last time that Saints had an in-season coaching change. And we've kind of talked about it here before. But it was Jim Mora who quit in 1996. So what happened the week after Jim Mora quit? I think they were 2-7 or 2-8. They were somewhere almost exactly what they were right now. When Mora quit, they played the 49ers, who obviously in the mid-90s were very good. They lost 24-17. Okay? But it gets interesting after that. Go back to 1985 when Bum Phillips quit. The Saints were, I don't know, I think they were 3-9 at the time. Bum Phillips quit. His son, Wade Phillips, who obviously coached many places after he left New Orleans, didn't get the job, wanted to get the job full-time here, didn't get it. Ended up becoming a defensive coordinator and a head coach for many teams afterwards, including Gabe Henderson's Houston Texans, if I remember correctly. Bum quit. Wade Phillips took over, and the 3-9 New Orleans Saints beat the Rams 29-3. And then they lost their last 3 games after that. 1980. How old are you? Do you remember when Dick Nolan was fired? It was the last firing for John Meekum. Dick Nolan got fired. He was 0-12. The New Orleans Saints were 0-12 in 1980. They fired him. Then they lost to the Vikings. They got nipped They lost to the Vikings at home 23-20. The Vikings would go on to be 9-7 that year. The Saints would end up winning their only game in New York in Shea Stadium. If you remember, started snowing as soon as the Saints won. No joke. Second to last game of the year, excuse me. They beat the Jets. Went 1-15. And not only that, that same season, the 0-12 Saints, it was the week after this Vikings game. The interesting thing about this, and I didn't type this in, I'm fairly certain this is true. You can go back and look and check me. And it's right around there. The Saints barely lost to the Vikings. Then they went out to San Francisco in Candlestick, played Joe Montana and the 49ers, were leading 35-7 and lost 38-35. At the time, it was the largest comeback in NFL history, which obviously later was beaten a couple times, including the crazy Buffalo-Houston game. Sorry, Gabe. The Music City Miracle. Gabe was like a tot back then. He probably didn't even remember that game. Do you remember it? No, he doesn't remember it. And then a couple other games. 1975. Y'all won't remember this. John North was fired and Ernie Hefferly took over. The Saints defeated the Falcons at home, 23-7. It was one of only 2 wins all season. And then they beat the Falcons, and then they lost their last 7 after that. So that's called get fired up immediately, and then you realize, oh, we kind of suck, and then go back to being crappy again. And then the first time it ever happened, you may not remember this one, because even I don't remember 1970. I was only 2 years old, believe it or not. But you all know the game that I'm talking about. In 1970, Tom Fears was fired. The original Saints coach was fired. John Meekham's first firing, not his last. J.D. Roberts took over, and the Saints won at Tulane Stadium. But they didn't just win. They won on the most famous, or second most famous field goal now in the history of this franchise. They won on a 63-yard field goal by the late, great Tom Dempsey. That's right. Tom Fears was fired, and they won. They beat the Detroit Lions, who were actually pretty decent in 1970. And there's a story, and I'll never forget, Alex Karras talks about, who was a very famous lineman for half a foot Dempsey. Very good friend of my wife's family. The Dempsey family still to this day. I'll just say that Alex Karras, they all the Lions back then, that was unheard of. It's not like today where a 63-yard field goal, 3/4, maybe more, 4/5 of the kickers can make a 63-yard. No, they were laughing at him. They're going to try a 63-yard field goal. They tried it and he won. So anyway, there you go. So if my math is correct, when the Saints make a change in the middle of the season in their history, they are 3-2 the next week. And the other 2 games they lost by a touchdown against really good San Francisco in 96, and they lost by a field goal against the Vikings team in 1980 when the Saints were 0-12. So there you go. Gary says it cost $1 to get a kid's ticket back then. Man, I tell you, I remember Tulane Stadium, but just barely. I was little. Dempsey had half a right foot. Tom Landry said he shouldn't be allowed to kick. They did say that because he had like if you go back and look and just Google Tom Dempsey's shoe, he had like this block. It was literally like a block. He only had half of a foot. Black Preacher Man, 63-yard field goal in old Tulane Stadium. You were 12. I was 1970. I was 2. 2. So I know how old you are, Preacher Man. KD Brown might cost $1 by the end of the season if they keep up this streak. You ain't kidding. You might be able to find a ticket. Look, them Dirty Birds are going to fill up the dome. That's what scares me more than anything. I am so scared that the Dirty Birds are going to fill up the dome on Sunday. Randy Cajun, it would be nice to whoop up on the Falcons, even if it doesn't mean much other than the pride thing. I mean, you're saying there's a chance. Here you go. I mean, mathematically, Saints could go 10-7. That field goal record stood for decades. Damn Jason Elam. Wasn't Jason Elam that broke it, or was it Matt Prater? I know it was a Broncos kicker. One of them, I was pissed when it happened. I don't know. I probably had a bet on the game, too. That probably didn't help any. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I just remember being upset. Other Saints news before we get to Gabe this morning. We've talked about some of the Rizzi changes. He shuffled spots among the coaching staff. I mean, no big deal. I thought this is weird. I mean, okay, we're going to do this in the middle of the season. Rearranging locker rooms so the players are now grouped by position. I mean, is that really going to change wins or losses? The structure of practice is different. Derek Carr said he's literally, and I hate when people use the word literally, and I'm doing it here, but he's literally never thrown so many passes or run so many plays in a practice in his life. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Again, I guess any change when you're 2-7, it's not a bad thing. I don't know. Lastly, before we get to Gabe this morning, Chris Olave. If you're Chris Olave, why would you even think about playing football, right? And I said the same thing about Tua Tagovailoa, whatever. I'm not saying you need to quit for the rest of your life because this is your 4th concussion, dude. You're a young man. Jerry, rise up to fall down, maybe. So I want to beat the surf swag out of the Falcons. It would at least bring a temporary joy to this fan base, wouldn't it? Lance Dobart, heard practices were soft. Glad Rizzi. I think it's just the opposite, actually. Daniel Mariaka says Olave is the new Tua. I know. I mean, if you're a young man, what is he, 26? I'm just guessing. 25, 26, somewhere around there. You got your 4th concussion at this age? Uncle Big Nick said he was born in 1980, I know. 24? 24, dude. You got your 4th concussion. I'm not saying don't ever come back. Don't ever not play football again. But, dude, is there a reason why you want to rush back and play for a 2-7 football team? I appreciate the effort because I've talked about half-assedness from other players, and you're showing just the opposite. I guarantee you, Marshawn Lattimore, if he had his 4th concussion, he'd been going probably hang out in Miami or some crap. He wouldn't be playing. Good riddance, dude. I'm sorry. I know a lot of y'all feel differently. Look, I thought that was a good trade for the Saints. I got to be honest. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but you got a 3rd rounder and you gave up a 5th rounder. You got a 3rd rounder, a 4th, and a 7th, I think. And you gave up Lattimore and a 5th. That's a hell of a trade. At this point, for a guy who plays only when he wants to, Mike Mears says, Chris, save your health. We really enjoyed watching you. Health means more. 100%. Again, take the rest of the year off. Yeah, and Daniel says that last concussion was brutal. Absolutely, it was. I'd say if I was his daddy, I'd say, dude, take the rest of the year off. Go out and have someone fully go over what's going. You need a second opinion. I mean, we're going to talk about this in the offseason, but if you think I'm Olave and I'm trusting this team's medical staff, you cray. I ain't trusting jack from this team. Sorry. They may hate me for saying it. It is what it is. It's not a coincidence. And I don't care if you got a crack grade A staff. Doesn't matter. When you're talking about head injuries, I'm getting second, maybe 3rd opinions, and there's no reason for Chris Olave to play right now. And if I'm his daddy, he ain't playing unless he just says, I mean, he's a 24-year-old man. He can do whatever he wants to do. But if I'm his daddy, I'm going to be chirping in his ear, dude. Don't want it to happen. Let's take our time. At the bare minimum, let's take our time and take a few weeks off. Bare minimum. So we will finish the show with the Saints. I promise we got to get in the best bets. We got a lot of comments. A couple that we didn't run. Just give some love. James Landry, after rooting for victories, a big winning streak would be the worst thing for the franchise. Gabe, you didn't show this because you just didn't want to piss me off. That's all. This would convince management they don't need an overhaul. James, welcome to the Dattitude family, and I know you probably never heard me say this, and you'll know why Gabe didn't show this earlier. And I apologize to those who have heard me say this about 196 times. Losing solves nothing, ever. Tanking is never worth it. Period. It does you no good to lose on. First of all, they're not going to lose on purpose. Okay, so y'all can ask for them to. Y'all can keep asking for them to. I know there are some that are being silent about it out there because you know what I'm going to say. So I know the silent tank on purpose people are back there. They're just not saying it because they know I'm going to blast them a little bit. But you can think it and you can want it. It ain't going to happen. Now, they might lose on their own. So you might not have to worry about anything. And the numbers go down. He's an idiot. You lose. Sure, you lose on purpose. Lose. Dummy. You're a dummy. If you think they should lose on purpose, you're a dummy. Dollar Bill says, who would they even tank for? 100%. Look at Caleb Williams. Ain't worth it. That's the whole point, Dollar Bill. That's the whole point. You can tank. You can lose every game and just be miserable. Your team's losing again. You can try to make fun of it and make it feel like you feel better about it. Ray says, great trade. A lot of more wanted out. Of course he did. Wanted out before. Lance says, hell of a trade. For sure. So you just don't know what you're going to get. You don't know, A, that your management is going to make the right choices. And B, even if they quote unquote make the right choices to make you happy, that they don't turn out to be the wrong choices in the end. Ask Carolina about Bryce Young. Hindsight's 20/20. Don't tell me you knew CJ Stroud was better than Bryce Young, because if you did, you're a liar. Valerie Lynn, the upcoming quarterback draft class is weaker than normal. Probably would be better to wait and get a quarterback following you. That's probably what they're going to do, I guess. I'm just saying. You had so many more problems than quarterback anyway. Okay. The only good thing here is one good thing, that if you do move up, if you keep moving up, the more you move up, it's not about who you could pick. The one thing you can do, and I do think that helps, is if you do keep losing just because you're losing, not because you're losing on purpose, and you're up there in the top 5 or whatever, then I would absolutely say this team needs to go down. So there you go. All right. Again, we're going to finish the show. We're going to wrap it up with Saints. I do want to move on a little bit. And I want to bring in Gabe and talk about where we are in his best bet. We're going to get in Alabama, LSU a little bit. Not going to talk much about Temple, Tulane. You see the line on there. Tulane's going to win. And then they got a couple of tough games, I think, to end the season. I think their bye week is next week. And then they got a couple tough games to end the season. All right. Gabe, you've been doing well with your picks. 5 out of 7. You didn't hit it last week, but
Yeah, the goddamn Saints.
Yeah, well, I told you not to do that.
It is what it is. You're going to see how much I've learned with my pick this week.
I think I know what it is, but go ahead. What is your pick this week?
So I've actually moved it a little bit. I said when we went off the air, last show I said that LSU +3 was going to be my best bet. And it kind of is, but with the news of Garrett Dellinger being out,
how do you kind of have a best bet? That
you'll
doesn't
see,
exactly
you'll
inspire anyone. Okay, go ahead.
You'll see. So what I wanted to do is, with the Garrett Dellinger news, kind of scared me off LSU +3. I still like him to win outright. I have a good feeling, and as we've discussed privately, when I get a good gut feeling, it's usually right. So we'll see. My best bet this week, I've got it's another teaser. So you see just how much I've learned.
If you include a college team, I'm just going to say I'm going to blast your ass.
I've got 2 of them.
Okay, you're going to get blasted, because the worst thing you can do in betting, and I mean the absolute, it's even more dumb than betting an under in college football, is teasing a college football game. But go ahead.
I've got LSU +9. I don't think Alabama's good enough to beat LSU on the road by 10 points. And then I've got Georgia plus 3.5. I think Georgia wins outright, but I wanted to get that 6-point hook with LSU, so I decided to throw Georgia in there. I think Georgia beats the doors off Ole Miss.
Okay. I'll just say that Georgia Ole Miss game is in both Uncle Big Nick's and I's best bets. We have it different ways, so I'm not going to comment on that one. He also has Alabama LSU in his best bets. I don't, so I can tell you that I don't necessarily disagree with your thought process, and I get the thought process, but teasing college football is literally the worst thing you can do in the world of betting.
No. The worst thing that you can do in betting is parlay 25 heavy favorites and then complain like,
okay, well, I mean,
$10 to win $1,000, and then when one of them gets upset, say, "Oh, I was one leg away."
I'm just talking about
that's
what a
the
normal
worst thing
person would do.
Yeah,
people.
That's what normal people do.
Please stop doing 7 and 8 game parlays. Please stop doing that.
Stop making parlays in general. Really,
I mean,
there's a few that you can make, but
I've been winning consistently. I've now won 4 money line parlays this year in the NFL, straight money line.
How big were they though?
Four game
exactly.
parlays. So, but I don't ever do more than 4. Sometimes I do 3, but it's usually 4. And I've hit 2 in a row now, 2 weeks in a row. I mean, and it's not just. It'll be normally it's like 2 fairly big favorites it's 2 favorites that I would put in my knockout pool, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then it'll be someone that's like maybe a 2-point favorite, and then I'll pick an underdog and throw it in there. But an underdog that I really like to maybe a 2-point or a 3-point underdog. And it generally with a boost, I'll get like plus 1,200, and I've been doing pretty good on those. But anyway, I think anything more than 4, you go more than 4 and you're playing bingo. That's
exactly. And then those are usually the people that have the audacity to say, "Oh, it was so close.
Yeah,
it almost hit."
Right. Exactly.
Life-changing money.
Yeah. Well, Uncle Big Nick almost had life-changing money.
Can we talk about life-changing money real quick? Billy Napier is staying at Florida.
Wait, what?
Billy Napier is staying at Florida.
Oh, I did.
Scott Strickland came out and said that that's a bold move, considering the next 3 weeks they play Texas, LSU, and Ole Miss.
Well, maybe that's why he said it, because they expect them to lose. And I don't know. I don't know why you would say that now.
Can you imagine if they lose to Florida State in the final week of the season?
No.
If that happens, how much of a clown is Scott Strickland going to look like for saying that? Oh, he's safe. His job is safe.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is maybe there are some like big time recruits that have told them that if they get rid of them, I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know what the reason would be. That's kind of a strange move. So.
Yeah, I don't understand. I just don't get saying that this coach who's been under fire all season is safe when he's really not been that good. Florida has beaten the teams it was supposed to beat.
Yeah.
And they've lost every game they were supposed to lose.
That's true. You got a point.
They've been a little competitive against Tennessee, but I think Tennessee's overrated, and I think everyone.
What are your Texans going to do against the Lions this week? You'll see why I'm asking you in a minute.
I think it depends.
That's in my best bets. I'm not going to tell you, obviously.
It depends on the health of Nico Collins and Will Anderson. I think those are 2 huge factors. But I have a good feeling.
Hold on real quick. Charles says he wanted to pop in. He's got a 3-week RV trip. You're leaving tomorrow, visiting 5 states. See us in 3 weeks. I'm just saying, they have internet in other states. You can say hello while
I've got internet in another state.
Yeah, exactly. So you can say hello in another state. All right. What else you got real quick before we got to go? Because Uncle Big Nick's gotta come in.
I have a good feeling about the Texans for some reason. I say that they're gonna get pummeled at home. I just don't think the Lions can keep this up forever. And CJ Stroud's only lost twice at home in his career. The Texans have only lost haven't lost back-to-back games since weeks 1 and 2 last year.
All right.
So for some reason, I just feel good about it. And then my last thing is, since you told me to bring this up on this show, sorry to kind of call out Randall here. Randall went 1-6 with his picks last week. You asked me to record those. I recorded them. Finished 1-6.
I did ask
the only
you,
one he won was Baltimore -9 against Denver.
Wow.
Dallas, Seattle, Cleveland money line, Georgia to cover against Florida, Michigan to cover against Oregon. In all fairness, Michigan to cover against Oregon should have hit. Dan Lanning pulled some bullshit at the end. But at the end of the day, you got to stop it if you're Michigan. If you don't want it to happen. Listening? And then Penn State +3.5 against Ohio State was a loser.
Randall, if you're still there, just saying, you need to come up and fess up on that. All right, we will talk to you tomorrow. Sometime.
Sounds good.
All right, see you then. All right, man. Randall was talking a lot of smack last week. I'm just saying. All right, we're going to finish up, and I should have put this slide on earlier, but you see some of these numbers. If you can't see the numbers and you listen to the pod after the fact, I will go through them a little bit in a little bit as we wrap up the show. It's the NFL rankings for the Saints and Falcons, and I will say this again: if you can't see them, the Saints defensive number, you play the Panthers, even though they lost last week and stung up the joint, the numbers have gone up. They've been dead last for like the last, 4 weeks? The 28th in the NFL in defense now. Their offensive rankings going up too. They're now right in the middle of the pack. Derek Carr comes back. Back to the middle of the pack, baby. 16th. Again, that's how we're going to finish this show with these numbers. But I do want to get into best bets time. It is Uncle Big Nick. And we have got some things to talk about this morning. All right.
God, I did so bad I didn't even get my song.
Oh, yeah, you sure did. Hold on. You know what? I'll give you your song. Uncle Big Nick's here. Here you go.
Uncle Big Nick, can we make some picks today? Well, can we please?
Yeah, you sucked.
Now I'm ready.
I mean, now you feel good. You're happy.
I mean, if
now?
I was Gabe and only had to give out a best bet, I'd be 3-0 in the last 3 weeks. So there is that.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into if.
I'm going to look into bright sides. I'm going to look at bright sides.
All right, before we get to our best bets, we like to do this little thing when we talk about the top games of the week, the top 3 in college football, the top 3 in the NFL. And if you don't see a game you think that should be on here, it's probably because it's in our best bets. Now, if a game is in our best bets, I don't really put it on here, although I will say that 2 of the 3 in the NFL are in my best bets, so I kind of cheating a little bit. So let me start at college. The dollar bill says, ship it. Ship it nation. Ship it nation is here. No, you know what? Hold on. Before we talk about best bets, I want to talk about your brutal beat of the week.
God.
Y'all got to hear about this.
I'm just starting to get over that. Now I got to talk about it.
And I meant to make a copy of this, but I did not. Uncle Big Nick, who loves to do the lineups with the Ship It Nation, okay, had a lineup Monday night.
Football DFS, daily fantasy.
Monday Night Football with 2 minutes left. He sends me his lineup, and he's like 5 points ahead. He's about to win. And this is not an exaggeration, $98,000. And as the night goes on, Tampa Bay gets the ball back. If Tampa Bay just doesn't score, the game doesn't go into overtime, or even if they score and kick and go for 2, whether they make it or don't get it. Uncle Big.
No, the problem was even in overtime, I was fine.
$1,000.
I was fine all the way to the last touchdown in overtime. It came down to the only person that couldn't score the touchdown was Kareem Hunt in overtime, and he scored the touchdown. So in a matter of one touchdown, I went from winning $98,000 to winning $981. You just moved the decimal point.
We can't all have Zach Ewing's luck where he won $100,000 a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, playing
that was just brutal. From 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter all the way to the last play in overtime, I was winning.
That is called brutal. That is called brutal. All right. Well, we're not gonna make you think about it anymore. We're gonna get to our best plays of the week, and then I want to go through these quickly. Seriously, we don't have to spend especially the college games, because I know all the best games are in our best bets. So this is what was left. Top 3 in college football that aren't in our best bets. Michigan. I don't think you could have told me before the season. If you would have told me this was the line, like I'd have put a mortgage payment on the Wolverines, because although I didn't think they were going to be, nearly as good as they were last year, you're telling me on November the 7th, Michigan is a 14.5 point underdog at Indiana. I get that Indiana is undefeated, but are you kidding me?
That's all Indiana does is kill people. Like I took Michigan State. I took Michigan State last week +8, thinking they can keep up with Indiana, and then they up 10-0. I feel like the smartest guy in the world. Then Indiana runs off 47 unanswered. Like, I mean, that's all they do is kill people.
They were +8 and Michigan's +14.5. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but they win Michigan State.
Well, all right, well, still, I'm just going to say this. Indiana's run's got to end soon. I'm not saying Michigan's going to do it, but there ain't no way in hell. If I had to, I don't think I would bet this game, but I like Michigan here. Give me the 14.5. I'm going to take it.
I think Indiana's run ends at Penn State, but I don't think it ends here.
All right, and by the way, as we go along with these picks, if y'all feel like you want to comment on anything with our picks, feel free. We'll show it on the screen. But Randall, just saying, you're making your comments. We're going to keep track. We got receipts.
He still owes me 100.
All right, that's all. I told you we don't talk about that on this podcast. All right, these are how bad the picks that are not in our best bets. What's left? This is an interesting one. We just talked about Billy Napier and in given the vote of confidence, Florida has been playing better. 21.5, getting 21.5 at Texas. All right, I think Texas is going to beat them handily, but I don't like the way Quinn
Texas is off of Texas is off of bye. Quinn Ewers is terrible.
He's terrible.
Florida,
what's going on?
Florida has been playing better, and I don't agree with Gabe. Like, I think you got to give Napier that vote of confidence. I mean, he's on his third string quarterback. They're still competing. They play tough against Georgia. They play tough against Tennessee. They improved from the beginning of the season, and I don't think there's any way they lose to Florida State at the end of the year. Like, Florida State just quit.
Sean says Indiana coach should be the next Saints coach. All he does is win wherever he goes. Who is the Indiana coach? I don't even know who it is.
I can't think of his name right now. He was just on. He was with Saban's staff.
Okay,
it's a weird name, like Chig or something.
Kurt Cignetti.
Gabe says.
Kurt. Well, okay. Well, I don't think Kurt Cignetti is going to be the next coach. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. All right. Anyway, I'm taking Florida in the 21.5. If I had to bet,
if I'm betting this, I'm taking Florida because they've been competitive in every game.
Media says they will be continue with Napier. Yeah, we just talked about that, Mike.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Saturday night on Peacock, Washington at Penn State. Washington plus 13.5. This isn't a game I would touch with a stick. I don't like that number. Washington plays well at times, and other times they just kind of stink up the joint. Penn State, what kind of hangover are they going to have? I don't know.
How could Penn State have a hangover? They do this every year.
I don't know.
Like, it's just crazy that they start off so high, and I'll fall for it every year. Like, you might as well put that little meme with the clown makeup that people were putting it on. That was me picking Penn State last week.
Yeah, like, you keep doing it.
I keep falling for it every year. Penn State, when they play Ohio State, Michigan, when they're good, it seems like they're just missing that one big playmaker to get open, or that one big guy. And Ohio State always has it. So this is when Penn State starts falling on me, and they may win this game, but I can't see them covering that big number.
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
I mean, everybody's on Franklin's butt about fire Franklin. You got to argue with a fan at the end. Walking out the tunnel, they were chanting fire Franklin. I mean, be careful what you wish for. I don't think you fire the guy. I mean, 1 year he's going to beat both of them in a year, but he recruits well. He has the teams playing tough. Just be careful what you wish for there.
Yeah, I know. But if you're Penn State, you do get tired of just like being, okay, we're ranked 12th, yippee-ki-yay. We go to a New Year's Day bowl. It sounds kind of like LSU. So, a little bit. Anyway,
well, I mean, LSU at least wins every few years.
That's true. All right, moving on to the NFL. You know what? Real quick, before we do that, hang on real quick. We told you earlier we would let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family or privately owned business might be worth, whether it's time to sell. Well, how do they do it? After their complimentary evaluation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. They will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. You might be like Uncle Mignick. He could have won the $98,000. He'd been calling Nick and Ron.
I'd have gave him a call
the very next day. Doesn't matter if your last name is Allen, Rizzi, Benson, Boudreaux, or Morris. Doesn't make a difference. You think it might be time to make a change in your life, and the best choice you might ever make is getting in touch with Nick and Ron. That's because Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you, and you already know what's really important. The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, I'll put this game on air because I'm very interested in your take. It's in my best bet, so I'm not going to comment on it. But the 49ers at the Bucs, 6.5-point favorites. I know you're fired up because McCaffrey's back at practice, but he's not going to play this week, right?
Sounds a point that he might be in there this week.
I don't think he's gonna. I don't
think he is either. If he does play, you'll see this line go up. So
yeah,
if you think he's going to play, I mean, take this line. Tampa Bay coming off that beat on Monday night, short week, going back home. I know they're gonna be at home, but I think this is when San Francisco starts getting healthier, starts playing better. I mean, they started 3-4 last year, or the year before last, and they went to the Super Bowl. Might have been last year. I can't keep up with their Super Bowl losses. So they're 4-4 now. I mean, I don't see where they got to make a run. It's got to start here.
All right, this game is in my best bets again. Sunday at noon, same time the Saints are playing the Falcons. If you got two TVs, you're at home, you could put this one on your other TV.
Or five.
Or five, or whatever it is. I guess you have to have the Sunday ticket because the Saints game.
I got five. Don't worry.
All right. So I'll give you my pick on this one in just a minute. This one is not in my best bets, but I do have thoughts on it. Sunday, 3:25, CBS, the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys in the marquee game of the day. 7-point favorites on the road. I get Dak's not playing. That seems like a lot of points.
That's a lot of points for this Philadelphia team. It just doesn't blow people out.
Yeah.
They couldn't blow out Jacksonville. They let him back in the game. Sirianni just lets everybody back in games because he's so dumb as a coach. Cooper Rush is 5-1 as a starter, but he's 5-1 as a starter, but not with the team that they have constructed now. Like, this team has no running game. The other teams did. How is Cooper Rush going to play with no running game? I mean, is Cooper Rush that much of a downgrade from the way Zach's been playing?
No.
Hey, we got the next game coming up. I wanted to ask you this. Would your head explode if you had to watch Sirianni and Campbell play in the playoffs and coach a playoff game?
It's going to happen. It should happen. It's going to happen.
The decisions they're going to make, you're going to be so miserable.
They should just get rid of punters. And honestly, I don't even know if you need a field goal kicker. I mean, you could just play the game without a punter and a field goal.
Yeah, you could just take the kickers off because, I mean, they're going to go for two. They're going to go for it.
Although Sirianni Sirianni, when you think he's going to go for it on fourth down, he tries a 57-yard field goal.
60-yarder, whatever.
Well, I'm like, that dude is – look, Dan Campbell makes some bad in-game decisions, but at least he's consistent with his aggressiveness. There's no consistency with Sirianni. It's like
you couldn't sit at home and have no idea what Sirianni's going to do.
No.
You have no idea.
I mean, you know what Dan Campbell's going to do. I mean, Sirianni, I really think he flips a coin sometimes.
Every time they talk to Sirianni,
if he was my coach,
about plays or the call that he made, he's like, well, I don't make the play calls. I don't do this. I think about Office Space. I want to ask him, what do you do here? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, don't get me started. Anyway, that game's in my best bets as well. We'll get to it in a minute. All right, it is time for the good news and the bad news. And the good news is we both won our top play of the week. We both hit our 5-point pick. We have been destroying the 5-point pick. You can basically book it, and I don't care if I jinx us here. If we put it in our 5-point picks, you can basically book it. It's happening. I don't know. We're like 10-2 the last 5 weeks combined in our 5-point picks. I don't know, something along those lines. The bad news is there's not a lot of whole good news anywhere else. I was 2-3 this week. You were 1-4. Your only correct pick was that 5-point pick. It really took your record down. It brought me back to 500. It made me sad. But all we can do is go forward, right?
Yeah, that's all we could do. Just
right.
Bad beats all the way around.
We did have some bad beats, but we're not going to cry about bad beats. You lose, you lose. It's like what Gabe and I was talking about. You play the 20-leg parlay.
You see what Gabe just put
by
up?
one, you still lost. Breaking. Oh boy, who cares? Libby Dunn and Paul.
I'll be there. I care.
The guest picker at College Game Day. Who cares? Livy Dunn and Paul Skeens. That's almost as bad as Swifty. Don't get me started. Anyway, get off my lawn.
Jeez.
Sons of bitches. Anyway, okay, here we go. We're going to get started. We're going to nothing but positiveness, brother, as we move on here. Your 1-point pick this week. Holy smokes, you're doing it. You and Gabe Henderson, except Gabe's cheating and he's doing a teaser. You got LSU +3 over the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Speaking of his teaser, I hate that Georgia pick in that teaser. Anyway, LSU, I as much as I don't like Nuss's decision making, I trust him in Tiger Stadium more than I trust Milroe here. And I think that's all that I need right here is the LSU home crowd is going to be like that Ole Miss game, and they're going to will LSU to victory here. I don't understand why Bama is given 3. Is Bama just living off a reputation? I really don't think Bama is as good as they used to be. I just don't see it. Milroe is so off and on. He played a great first half, probably the best you could ever play against Georgia, and then he turned into a pumpkin. If LSU can learn how to stop a running quarterback, maybe they prepare for it this week, we should be okay.
Well, we'll find out, but I wouldn't touch this game with a stick. I think
that's why it's number 1.
I just, but I wouldn't put it in I just think there's so many ways this game's going to go. My gut, I hope my gut's wrong because it has been wrong before. My gut tells me that Alabama's going to win this football game. I hope I'm wrong. I don't know that LSU's ready to take that next step, and I don't like what I saw against Texas A&M. Just the way that they kind of fell apart there. I hope that week off they had a chance to get it together. And the big money's with Alabama. Again,
but they fell apart because of Nuss's decision making.
Yeah, maybe so. But Nuss is going to be playing this week, so.
Yeah, I know, but I trust him over Milroe, and that's saying a lot.
Okay. Well, I don't like Milroe either, but this is not a game. Look, if I were just a casual observer and I was watching the game and somebody gave me $50 to bet on this game, I would tell them that I bet on Alabama and put the $50 in my pocket and just lie and steal it. Yeah. That's what I would do. So I wouldn't bet on this game with anybody's money. Randall says LSU by 10. There you go, Gabe.
God damn it.
He says at least. You're screwed, pal.
God. Don't show his comments on my picks because I can't see him.
Dollar Bill says Bama secondary is pretty bad. Nuss should cook. Maybe.
Dollar Bill's our college football guy at Chip It Nation.
I hope Dollar Bill is right. I'm all over it. Okay. My 1-point pick. There you go, Gabe. I got the Houston. You're going to give me 3 in the hook. Look, I agree with Gabe in the fact that I think that this Detroit's the best team in the history of football. Every year we go through it where some team is just great, that we're not talking about Kansas City. Last year was Buffalo. Remember Buffalo at some point in the season, they were like 9 points better than an average team. And then what happened? They just kind of like started stinking. I'm waiting for Dan Campbell to make this team implode on itself. Not only that, the Texans coming off of their just crappy performance. They've had a mini bye week. They've had a lot of time to think about it. They're going home. It's their chance to prove themselves against a really good team. Not only do I think that the Texans cover in this game, but I think they win outright. And I think that Detroit comes back to earth a little bit.
I agree with you here. I like the coach for the Texans came out and said they going to use this as a measuring stick on how they play with aggressiveness. And I think they're going to come out and try and establish the run here. Keep the ball away from Detroit and not let them score 40. So I think I really like this pick here. I really like it. And I just see Randall likes Detroit. So why is he helping you and hurting me? I don't like it.
I don't think he's doing it on purpose. Look, this is, if you like Detroit, and look, Aunt Mabel and Drunk Joe, and if you don't know, that's my terms for the public.
Oh yeah, everybody's
going to be. You could make this line 197. people are going to bet on Detroit. They love them some Detroit. And I'm just saying it's a perfect time for them to be upset and come back down to earth because Detroit's not nearly as good as everybody thinks they are. That's just my opinion.
I think they're a really good team. I just don't think they're as good as everybody thinks they are.
I agree 100%. I think they come back down to earth a little bit. It does concern me a little bit that Will Anderson could be out again. Probably will be. But they're getting some help back on the offensive side.
Another thing about this game, the thing I like about this game is that
Nico's back, right?
No, he's not back yet.
Yeah.
I think Houston runs the ball a lot. They keep the ball away from Detroit. And I think Detroit presses to where, we ain't getting the ball a lot. Let's press to score points here. And I think they can make mistakes.
All right. Well, we'll see. All right. Time to move on. We're going to move on to the number 2 pick. There you go. And if you listen to the Audio Pod, my number 1 pick, my 1 point pick, not my number 1 pick. My 1 point pick is Houston Texans plus 3.5 over the Detroit Lions. All right. Moving on. Oh, boy. You must have lost
I'm picking it.
You must have lost the screw. Uncle Big Nick's number 2 pick again for the Audio Pod. If you can't see it, the New Orleans Saints plus 3.5 over the Atlanta Falcons. I cannot. If it's not in my best bets, I will not give my pick on this, but I'll probably give away what I'm thinking. I don't give my pick on the Saints until Friday, but the Saints plus 3.5. Uncle Big Nick is picking the Saints.
I love it if I'm picking the Saints.
Okay.
If they're not going to play up for anything the rest of the year, this is the one game they have to get up for. New coach. If these players really want to play and they really want to play football, this is the one game that you're going to see them fired up for. They'll come out for a new coach, prove that they can still play. I look at a new coach coming in mid-season as like your car battery getting jumped.
Yeah.
You get your car battery jumped, you get to your house, you shut off your car, then it goes out.
CARR battery?
RR battery.
The car, Derek car battery.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't even use that.
I got good news for you. I got good news for you here. Again, I'll give you my pick tomorrow. But Randall likes Atlanta big, so that's good news for you.
There you go. He's
like
trusting Cousins.
Again, my pick.
I can see Atlanta winning this game, but I think the Saints are going to be competitive. They should have beat Carolina.
The only thing I'm going to say about it is I think that we talk so much about how teams get boost when you get an interim coach, and we've been talking about it for years. And I think that the books have finally started kind of compensating for this because
how this was a pick'em before he got fired.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't. No.
Before they lost to Atlanta, it was a pick'em.
Oh, you're talking
before
about
they lost to Carolina. Before they lost last week, before they lost to Carolina, it was a pick'em.
It wasn't a pick'em. I'm just saying my power ratings say I don't think that's the case. But anyway, regardless, even if it was, my power ratings say this should be Atlanta -6, even in New Orleans. Just saying. And then I think the Dome, again, I'm not making my pick right now, but I'm giving you reasons for being hesitant. And the fact that
I know the Dome's going to be full of Atlanta fans, but Saints fans got what they wanted, right? Allen's going. Why wouldn't they show up?
Because they are what they are. Sean, the used car will not get the W. Dude, don't start on car. Brian, Falcons 38-20 over the Saints. You've been on a roll 4 in a row with your Saints picks. Well, that's hard to do. They don't win. I mean, you can just keep picking against them. One of these days you're not gonna be right. But yeah,
you picked Carolina last week. Wow.
There'll be no Saints fans in the Dome. Randall says, "All right, let's move on." Again, I will give my official pick tomorrow, but that is ballsy from Uncle Big Nick putting this in his best bets. My number 2 pick. For the first time this year, I'm going out of my lane. I'm going out of my lane. And I'm going to college football, my first college football. I just jumped out at me. I should have probably made it higher. But because Clemson lost to Louisville last week, they've been smoking crappy teams. Okay? And Virginia Tech is a crappy team. And Dabo is going to have his team fired up and ready to go. And you're going to give it to me without the full touchdown? Again, I probably should have moved this up higher. Clemson, I think, is going to beat Virginia Tech by like 16, 18, 20 points.
Yeah, I love this pick. When I do this, when I write down everything for this, I write down 7 games, then I take out 2 and put the 5 together. This was one of the 7 that I took out. But yeah, I could definitely see this. I could see this being a drum in by Clemson. Like you said, that's all Clemson does is beat up on bad teams. They lost to a Louisville team. I liked Clemson last week, but I think they come back. Yeah, Dabo's going to have this team fired up, just like you said. They're going to kill Virginia Tech.
I'm screwed. Randall says Clemson by 21.
Gabe, keep this.
He's keeping it. All right, moving on. My 2-point pick, Clemson minus 6.5 over Virginia Tech. Your 3-point pick of the week, Vandy. You're going with the Fighting Doors, getting 3.5. Last week you were on Carolina as your top pick. You hit it. This week you're going against South Carolina, and is it because of emotion, I guess?
Yeah, it's the same hangover spot that Texas A&M was in last week. The biggest game in Texas A&M history. They beat LSU. They go to South Carolina, they get drummed 44-20. This Vanderbilt team's crazy. They get a little bit of respect here, just only getting 3.5 from South Carolina. I think South Carolina's a pretty good team, but that's the biggest win they've had in a long, long time last week. And I can see a hangover here. I don't know how you say his name, Bavia.
Diego
Pavia. Yeah, Diego Pavia or Savia, whatever his name is for Vandy. He's really good. Yeah. Really good. He's really good. And the Fighting Doors, I just think they cover here or win outright. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Vandy.
Because it wouldn't be 3.5 at South Carolina.
Right. I like Vandy as well. I don't know that I would bet on it, but I like this pick, and I like your theory of emotion. That's certainly been working in college football. It's part of the reason why I like Clemson. The fact that they lost last week is going to give me even more momentum, because honestly,
what would this game be if they beat Louisville? If they beat Louisville, that spread would be way higher.
Like 8.5, right?
Yeah.
9, maybe? Yeah. And I just think, look, I also think that, I think Dabo can talk his kids into thinking that they're still in the possibility of the playoff. They're not really. But he can make them believe that they are. So, we talk dream crusher kind of game. I don't think that's a dream crusher, so that's why I like that. But anyway. All right, moving on. My 3-point pick of the week. Going back to the well of the total. Last week, I got the Bears wrong. I got hosed on that over. Again, you lose, you lose. Not going to make excuses, but there was so many different ways to cover that over last week, and Caleb Williams just sucks that bad. This week, it's supposed to be.
Don't talk about overs when Army rules out their quarterback before the game. I'm like, God, that's the most important thing in those offenses.
You didn't even come close in that one. So
because that's the most important thing in that offense.
All right, well, I'm going under 38.5 Patriots at the Bears. And here's my thinking on this. I think that, first of all, it's supposed to be wind gust of in the 20-mile-an-hour range. 20 to 25 mile an hour wind gust with consistent winds around 17 to 20. It's supposed to rain. It's going to be nasty. It's Chicago. It's going to be kind of chilly. It's going to be ugly. And ugly games in Soldier Field with two ugly offenses. Give me the under. I don't care if it's 38.5.
That's all you should have said. This is two crappy teams. Let's move on. They're not going to score any points. Yeah, well. I mean, what was Tennessee, New England? They went into overtime and it was 17-10. I think.
Yeah, exactly. They still went to overtime and still was.
And Drake May had to run around for 100 yards to throw that pass to go into
a touchdown scored in overtime, and they still were under by 10 points. So there you go. All right. Well, I like it. You're right. Let's move on. Nick's 4-point pick is Georgia Ole Miss over 54.5.
I could see this being a lot like the shootout that Georgia and Bama had a few weeks ago, where Bama, they scored so many points in the first half, jumped out on top. This Georgia team is not the Georgia team of old. They don't have the defense of old. They lost a lot of draft picks. Beck's going to throw 2 interceptions. You might as well chalk it up. Dart's playing pretty good right now. They drummed Arkansas. I just see this being as a high-scoring shootout type of game, 38-28, something like that.
I don't know. I got to play.
I know you hate Kiffin, but they can put up points.
Well,
I don't see them winning.
We ought to just go slide right into my 4-point pick because I'm going out of my lane again. Oh, that's the wrong one. Well, I'm going out of my lane in my 5-point pick. I thought I had this as my number. I thought I flip-flopped these. I guess I didn't. Well, then you know what I'm going to pick.
Can't blame me this week.
I got the Bucks. Half of Ole Miss's team is on the injury report, Dollar Bill says. All right.
You could have told me that before.
As my 4-point pick, I got the Bucks plus 6.5 over San Francisco. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but the point is this, and I kind of said this in my picks column this morning. the Bucks keep getting disrespected, in my opinion. They keep losing players, and they keep playing tight games. And I get that, you like to play off of emotion. So emotionally speaking, the Bucks should get blown out here. I just don't. I'm not with you. I'm never in the camp of, well, they got to get better at some point. You keep telling me, and I don't mean you. I mean just in general. The experts keep telling me that San Francisco's got to get better at some point. They got to show. They don't have to show me anything until they prove to me that they're the San Francisco team that we expect them to be. They shouldn't be given 6.5 points on the road, in my opinion. That's way too many points. I think the Bucks have been playing well. I don't know that they can pull off the upset, but I do think that they can keep it close, and I think the Bucks will play inspired football here.
I could see that. I could see them keeping it close. I just don't think San Francisco loses this game.
I hear you. I'm not picking I'm not picking Bucks to upset them, but I do think it's gonna be a close game. So that's my 4-point pick. Bucks.
It's like this Bucks team is just like taking over Baker Mayfield's like attitude.
Yeah, they do, and it doesn't matter who plays. They just kind of like they're feisty.
Yeah,
and they keep.
That's why they should have went for 2.
They should have gone for 2, but that's a whole different story. All right, your 5-point pick of the week is, drum roll, please, tonight's game. And I'm glad you picked it so we don't have to spend too much time later on talking about Thursday Night Football. It is the Cincinnati Bengals +6 against the Baltimore Ravens, and this is a complete. I said in my column this morning, complete stay away game for me. I have this game exactly at Baltimore -6. I don't trust the Bengals to do anything. I don't like this game either way. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but you must tell me why you love it to make it your top play of the week.
Burrow's 16-3 as a starter, as a dog of over 3 points. AFC North battles are always close. This division, they always play close games, it seems like. I just think 6 is too many points. And I mean, I know it was close last time. Bengals should have won at their place. Baltimore just drummed Denver, so I can see a lot of people being on Baltimore tonight. I just think the Bengals are playing well. I think they keep this close.
All right.
I don't think this is the shootout that it was last time either. I think this is an under game this time.
Well, see, I'm in a quandary because I have Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, and I got Lamar Jackson playing tonight, so I got to make the decision.
This total is 53?
Yeah, I know, and that's why it's like, and the total in the Cowboys-Eagles game is 43. So I'm leaning towards Lamar Jackson, but all the expert things that I plug in say to use Jalen Hurts. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah, well, the under in games on Thursday Night Football, 52 or more, the under is 15-4. If it's 52 or more, it's 15-4 towards the under. So.
Well, and then I hate picking a player that's on Thursday because if he stinks, then you're just kind of hosed. So anyway, I don't know.
I don't want to talk fantasy anymore.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, at least you got $900 out of the deal. That's all.
That's like going for a steak dinner and I give you a peppermint and you say, well, at least you got to eat.
Hey, it's better than nothing. It's better than a glass of water and a piece of bread. I'm just saying. All right, my top play of the week is back to your game. I love Georgia in the spot. You know how much I hate Lane Kiffin. It's not just about Lane Kiffin, but I'm going to tell you, and Gabe gave this to me, and I already had this in my notes, but Ole Miss is 1-11 against Georgia since 1997. Lane Kiffin sucks in big games. His last losses are this. Again, 13th ranked LSU. He lost to Kentucky. That's not a big game. He just choked. He lost to number 1 Georgia, number 13 Alabama. Before that, he lost 4 in a row at the end of the 22 season, including the number 10 Alabama. Lost to LSU, to number 6 Baylor, to number 18 Auburn, to number 1 Alabama. You get the picture. He doesn't win big games, period. And so the fact that Georgia's only a 2.5-point favorite, I don't care if it's at Ole Miss or not. I just don't think Ole Miss is that good. And when it comes to games like this, they find ways to lose. Maybe it goes over, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I just love the Bulldogs in the spot, and I think that Kirby Smart's going to have his team fired up as we go down the stretch. It's now or never time for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I kind of like that. The only thing I like about Gabe's teaser is I hate going from a favorite to, an underdog to a favorite in a teaser. Like, I hate going from minus to plus. So it's just something I don't do.
I don't either. It's going through the zero. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't like that. But anyway, so I like Georgia in this game too. That's why I took the over, because I really could see it going all kind of different ways. I just don't trust the Georgia defense right now. But I like what you're saying. And at the end of this game, you know how players trade jerseys? Were them two trade visors?
Oh, dude, I don't know
what it is. Battle of the visors.
I'm just not I don't like coaches that wear visors. I don't know what it is about the visor that bothers me. And Dennis Allen wears a visor. Dennis Allen wore a visor. Sean Payton wears a visor too. It's something about the visor that just bugs me.
Oh, can we go 3 visor coaches in a row for the Saints if they hire Kiffin?
Well, they're not hiring. Dude, come on. They hire Kiffin.
I just want to do that so they can.
If they hire Kiffin, I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to watch that show. You're going to want to watch that Dattitude because they hire Kiffin. I'm going off. And I mean off. You won't hear the end of it. It'll be, I don't know. It'll be an hour and a half. I might not even take comments. I'm just going to go on an hour and a half rant.
Did you know how big this show's getting? Remember how I went on my rant about New York Jets and the New York Giants being in primetime spots?
Yep.
They flexed Coach Jets out of Thursday Night Football or Sunday night. Was it Sunday night? Sunday Night Football. So somebody's paying attention to the show. They put Cincy and the Chargers in there, which ain't really that much of a better game, but they took the Jets out at least.
I can't read. What is that? The breaking somebody's report. I can't read that blue type, but somebody's reporting.
LouisianaSports.net is reporting.
Yeah, Louisiana Sports is arranged from an out-of-state tiger to be paraded around Tiger Stadium like the days of old.
So they're gonna bring Mike.
They're trying to piss the PETA people off. That's what they're doing.
They're gonna bring Mike out.
There's only one reason why he's doing that. Seriously, not Mike. A different tiger. They're trying to piss the PETA people off.
They're trying to. What's that do for Mike? Mike's gonna be jealous. How come that tiger gets to get out?
I'm not getting to that at all.
That used to be so cool when they used to make the tiger roar right before the game, and they put him right where the opponents would come out. That was
what's
awesome.
Cool? It's back in 1985 when the band ran down the. No, I'm not just kidding. I'm just talking about the old days when I was back in the band.
When you used to better run.
When I used to be able to run. Could you imagine me trying to run down anything these days?
Yeah.
All right.
When's the last time you sprinted?
I sprinted about a year ago when I was finishing. When I stopped running, and now when I go, I just walk now. But it was about a year ago.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of shipment, I want to tell y'all.
Go ahead. Get it out. Get it out.
If anybody wants to do football DFS or anything like that, they got everything over there. I'm part of the nation. UBN15, get your 15% off of any package that you want to try. Monthly package for all sports is like $85, which is cheaper than any other site out there. And they offer MMA, PGA, college football, golf, hockey, NBA. I mean, it's every sport. So I only do 2 or 3 of them, but if you want to dabble in all the different sports, check it out.
UBN15 is the code. Ship It Nation. Uncle Big Nick, we will talk to you next week.
All right, buddy.
Uncle Big Nick making his picks. I'm telling you. I mean, look, we've really had a good October, so I don't want to go in and I hate going into November limping. Again, the good news is that we did get our 5-point picks right. The bad news is we were pretty stinky everywhere else. So hopefully we'll turn that around. Whatever. I'm not going to make excuses. We just stunk. Not going to make excuses. It is what it is. We lost. We stunk. All right. Dattitude podcast this Thursday morning presented by Evangeline Securities. I want to wrap up the show. We're talking a little bit more about the Saints this morning. I guess it's this afternoon now. We talked about Thursday Night Football. All right. I'm not going to get into that. That is a no play for me. Bengals and the Ravens. Uncle Big Nick loves him some Bengals. He says there's a trend. 16-3 is Joe Burrow when he's an underdog of greater than 3.5, I think he said. Anyway, that's a stay away game for me. I just don't. The Ravens is so weird, and whenever I watch, it seems like Thursday nights they're not very good unless they're playing the Saints. Remember when they played the Saints on Thursday night a couple years ago? Was that a Monday night game? Whatever it was, the Saints stunk. Saints Falcons. Look, again, I'm not going to give you any predictions. If you look at the numbers, though, they're not that far apart. The Falcons' offense is starting to play much better. Again, they're starting to get Bijan Robinson more involved, but they're also at the same time they're getting Tyler Algier. I don't think people underestimate the two-headed monster that the Falcons have in the backfield. Darnell Mooney has been playing outstanding. Now, we don't know right now if Drake London's going to play. Can you look that up for me real quick, Gabe, and see what the injury status is on Drake London? Now, he was banged up, and I think he was, if I had to guess, he's probably like a 50-50 play right now, and that is a big deal. And although Darnell Mooney has been playing very well, but if you take one of their receiving weapons away, it could make a big difference. But then the Saints aren't that great against the tight end either. So Kyle Pitts could have a big game in this one as well. I just don't look. You look at the Saints defense, their passing defense, 27th. Can they stop Bijan Robinson? And you go back to the game. Now, look, it was a different game. You go back to what, 4 or 5 weeks ago? Drake London was limited today. So, yeah, it may be better than 50-50 that he plays. And the great question, James Landry, is there any reason to believe the defense looks better than the past 5 weeks? I mean, do we think they're going to play? Look, they played decent last week, and we see their numbers have taken a tick up because they were good, but it was the Panthers, and it was Bryce Young. You got the Falcons. Here's another thing that disturbs me coming to this game. I get that the Saints are going to be probably more fired up with Rizzi in there and the changes that they're made. And the players obviously wanted Allen gone, and he's gone. And how much difference will that make? I don't know that we know the answer to that yet. But the Falcons, you also have to realize, the last time they played the Saints, even though they won, they got the 57-yard field goal by Younghoe Koo. The offense didn't score. The offense scored 0 touchdowns. Okay? So don't think they're not thinking about that. The chances of the Saints defense holding this team down twice in a row, I just think are super slim. I will say this. I think it leads me to the over in this game. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. Now, I don't remember what I put in my picks, but, as you go through this, I don't know. Again, I'll give my official pick tomorrow, and y'all can come back tomorrow. I hope everyone in the Dattitude family comes back tomorrow. Larry Holder will be on the show. We will give our official picks tomorrow. A little earlier than this, because we'll probably wrap up around noonish. Larry will give his thoughts, obviously, on Dennis Allen being fired. But you saw the cover of today's show, and I'll go back to you and let you look at it. And I asked the question, now what? I mean, is it that much of a difference? Does it make that much of a difference? I'm just not sure that, again, maybe it does for a game. Maybe it does for even 2 games. But, I mean, the Saints are basically the midway point of the season. They're just turned the page. Technically, they're just started the second half of the season. So you got half a season to go. You look at what's coming up next on the Saints docket. They'll be at home against the Browns. I don't know Gabe, if you want to look up real quick what the spread is against the Browns on DraftKings, I know they have it there. Then you have the bye week, and it's hard to believe we've already got December on the up next portion of this. The Saints, the good news is for the Saints, it comes at a time, and I do like the timing of this because at least the Saints are home for a month, basically. They're home this week, they're home next week, they're on a bye week, and then they're home against the Rams. Falcons, Sean wants to make a prediction now. Okay, 38-17 Falcons. Saints are a 2-point favorite against the Browns. Okay. I could see that. That may or may not change depending on what the teams do this week. I think the Browns are on a bye week this week, so they won't change. But, I mean, what happens with the Saints, I think there these high expectations of things changing. Temper your enthusiasm, okay? Even if the Saints win this week, temper your enthusiasm. Brian, thank you for saying so. I really appreciate it. You're here almost every day. You are certainly one of the key members of the Dattitude family. He said it before, this is the best pod. I certainly appreciate it. Again, I thank everyone for being here, not just the regulars, but you regulars, man, you're really helping boost this show up. If you're still watching right now, please, all I ask of you is there are 2 things I ask of you. I ask you to subscribe to the YouTube page if you haven't already done so. We're moving up. We're getting better there. The numbers are going up. That's how I show my because I tell you, when we're trying to get sponsors for the show, that's what they look at first. Now, we got huge numbers on Facebook. Right now, we're probably getting, if I had to guess, it's somewhere around, thank you, Randall. Appreciate you for being a part of the family. If I had to guess, probably 4/5 of our numbers right now are coming from Facebook, but that's better. It was about 9/10 even 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. The numbers are picking up on YouTube. So between YouTube and the audio-only podcast, we get about, I don't know, 1/5 of our total numbers. That's Callie. Great show. Thank you. Who Dat and Go Tigers, for sure. Again, and Rainy Cajun, there you go. So that is my second thing. Number 1 is subscribe to the YouTube page. Number 2, Rainy Cajun, is tell your friends. There's nothing like listening to a Shaw Yat talk about sports. I don't know that everybody feels it that way. James Landry, enjoying a snow day in Colorado. Love listening after the fact multiple times per week. A snow day, my man. I'm sure it's the same in Houston for Gabe, but it's like 81. What is it right now? 83 degrees right now at my home in Mandeville, Louisiana. Probably something very similar in Houston. We got a hurricane about to go floating around in the Gulf. My wife's going on a cruise. My wife's going on a cruise right now. UBN even loves the show, and UBN doesn't love anything. Just saying. Go ahead, show it. S. Callie says, it's hot as balls in Pensacola. Like dog balls. I think aren't their body temperature a little hotter than humans. That's why you always, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to get into the anatomy of a male dog, but whatever. It's hot. It's hot here too. Anyway, the point is, tell your friends about, we talk about everything, even dog nuts on this show. I mean, we just talk about everything. Oh, man. Callie says it is hotter for a dog. Brian says, temper expectations. O-line is still the O-line. It still stinks. Maybe it'll get better when Eric McCoy comes back. Maybe. And thank you for bringing this up, Brian. I didn't want to toot my own horn, but if you're going to toot it, go ahead. I did say they would lose every game McCoy didn't play in. And so Zach Ewing made fun of me when the Saints were 2-0. I had said every game Eric McCoy, and I probably went over a little overboard. I'm just saying. I said they would lose every game that Eric McCoy didn't play in. They were 2-0 at the time. They're now 2-7. Brian Pearson says it's 68 in New Jersey. Jealous. I don't want him to lose. I don't want to be right. Trust me. It sucks. It stinks. Please, for the love of Christ, get better. All right, we got plenty to talk about. You'll see the same slide tomorrow, so we don't need to go into the Saints leaders. We can talk about it again tomorrow. That will wrap it up for us on this Thursday. I want to thank Gabe Henderson, always behind the scenes, now sometimes in front of the scenes. Couldn't do it without him. He is a godsend to the show. You are a godsend to the show because we couldn't do it without you either. I've told you that already, and I mean it. Uncle Big Nick on Thursdays. We thank everyone for being a part of all of it. Tomorrow, we will be back on 11 a.m. live Central Time. Tell your friends because Larry Holder, we always have a good time when Larry Holder of The Athletic is on the show. Back to his regular Friday time. We will dissect Saints Falcons. I will ask him his thoughts. Have not been able to talk to him what he thinks about the Dennis Allen firing. Michelle Castro, Ariglado Neesmith, thank you. You're still hoping for the Saints? Me too. Brian Cavett says later, who that's? Yeah, so I'm going to pick Larry's brain. Remember, what was it, 3 weeks ago, when I asked Larry what the chances were that Dennis Allen would still be the coach of this team? Well, I did give him a long leash. I said in September of 2025, and he said 0.0% chance. Well, he was right. So was Gabe. Gabe said, I got to give Gabe said 0.0. Even I mean, I guess mathematically, I got to say 0.2% chance they'll make the playoff. 0.1%. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Anyway, we got to go. Bye-bye. A reminder, again, to subscribe to the YouTube page. Click the little bell. Give us a like. If you're still watching on YouTube, give us a like. I don't know why it helps. They say it does. Okay, give us a like. Just click the button. You can also find us wherever you get your podcast, including Apple, Spotify, many more. Find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. Of course, I want to thank my sponsor, our title sponsor, Evangeline Securities. Nick, if you're still listening, we love you. Nick Braden. You can also find all of our work, bet.nola.com, and our Saints Insider stuff on NOLA.com/Saints. We will see you tomorrow morning in about 22 hours and 25 minutes. We love you, New Orleans, and we love you from wherever else you're listening to. Everybody, have a wonderful Thursday. We'll see you on Friday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.